Okay, welcome to Stampscapes Live. We're going to be trying some different media surface combinations here in just a bunch of stamp sketches. I don't have anything planned out specifically in terms of the imagery or compositions that I'm going to be doing, but the things that we will be doing, we'll be using different types of inks for the different types of surfaces. So we have a Brilliance water-based pigment ink. It's a fast-drying ink. Dye-based ink, another water-based, just standard dye ink. We have StazOn here, which is a solvent ink, and we have a hybrid ink, which is, as far as I know, a combination of your dye-based ink and more of your oil-based pigment ink. I don't know how they get that to work, but apparently they do because it works pretty good. So I say I don't know how they get that to work because one's an oil and one's in a water base, but it's combined into your hybrid ink here, okay? I like the hybrid ink on the pre-printed papers, and why don't we start off with that? All right, so we have a piece of pre-printed vintage paper here. Let me see how long this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we got a 10-inch long. If this was 11 inches long, I would cut off a little bit of it. Yeah, okay. I just want to be able to mount this onto a piece of stiff cardstock with a little bit of border around here. Hello, Linda. So, okay. These types of pre-printed papers, the vintage papers, the wood grain papers, anything that you might use like that, it has printer inks on here, okay? It's not this real, aged type of paper. It's printed on there to make it look that way. So I'm guessing like a lot of your scrapbooking papers, things like that, that have different types of patterns on there, you're going to be having, probably a 4-color process on from a professional printer that's doing all that type of thing. I don't know if this one's a 4-color process on this one. It could be 3, probably, I'm guessing. But anyways, what I'm getting at is they're sealed off a little bit than your typical, paper, cardstock type of thing, even if they are clay-coated and variations of gloss on there. They are meant to take inks, okay, and absorb inks that you would utilize on them. This type of thing right here, the pre-printed papers like this one's not even meant to be printed on. It's a placemat, okay? So it's like food, is going on there, and you're tossing it out at the end. But these types of things like this, what they're basically designing them for is to run through your printer. You're typing up a letter or something like that and whatever, your word processing program, and you're just, printing something out on here. It could be like a certificate or something like that, or it could be a letter. So it's just going through your inkjet printer, your laser type of printer, okay? So we're not talking about, water-based dye inks or something like that to be stamped on. I mean, you can do that, but those inks and that sealant on there is kind of repelling certain types of inks to a certain extent, where you can print out on there, and but it's not leaving you as dark of an impression as you're probably expecting if you're using something like a black on there. Okay, so I don't really use too much of my water-based inks on here, especially if I'm going to do some extra coloring on here. So my choice for something like this would be your StazOn. StazOn will pretty much stamp on just about anything, okay? But I tend to go for my hybrid ink. I wasn't using my hybrid ink for too much, except for my art foamies, but I find that it works really fantastic for this type of paper. I can color this type of ink with different types of media. The StazOn you really can't color with your alcohol inks too much, otherwise it'll start smearing it. This one might smear a little bit, but I find that it penetrates this a little bit more. And I can color it a little bit with the alcohol inks. Okay, it'll probably put it back into solution somewhat, but maybe not as much as the StazOn. Okay, so for me, the hybrid ink works really good. And it gives me a pretty decent impression. It's not perfect, and like 100% black or anything like that, but it's a lot darker than, say, something like a dye-based. Okay, that's my dye-based ink, and my dye-based ink is the Marvy, and it tends to be a little bit thinner, so it penetrates easier and it's really rich. A lot of the other brands of inks out there, dye-based inks, they're thicker, so they might not penetrate as much. The bottom line, what you want to do is you want to test out your different inks when you get a different type of paper, if you're curious about it, being able to adhere and dry and transfer onto them really well. And your different papers are probably going to be a little bit different, depending on the brand that you get, or the different packs. Okay, so that being said, let's get to it here. Let's do something on this. I was thinking about this. I don't know what stamps I'm going to be using tonight, but I wanted to use some of my desert pieces again, and then we'll just go into some, a wide range. I want to come up with a bunch of different compositions that I can finish off in future videos. So and that's really fun for me to do. It's nice to be able to just grab, a bunch of compositions and say, okay, let's see what we want to do today on, this composition, and how I already have it done. So, yeah, all right. So on this one here, I was thinking about a slope. I want to use some mountains in the background and some saguaros or something like that. I really love kind of the slopey type of thing looking off into like a desert landscape. Hello, CM Hawkins. How are you? All right. Let's see. I got a couple of, here we go. I got a couple of my things ready here to go. All right. Pre-printed paper, hybrid ink, okay? This one's from Moon and the Maker, and it's called Eclipse Black. It's opaque black as black. So this one right here, hybrid inks are pretty good. Okay, so if you're using pigment inks, they're very surface oriented. When you stamp on something, they stay on the surface, okay? Dye-based inks work by penetrating and staining the surface, okay? So you get a little bit of that topical, application of it. That's where I think the darkness comes in. But I get that staining of the dye-based component of this hybrid ink going in there, okay? All right, let's see here. And I don't have to kind of hold for too long with this hybrid ink, I find. But again, test your your brand of inks out. You might try. Now, Claire is an oil-based pigment ink that could work on this as well, because that VersaFine Claire, everyone loves it because of the detail and the darkness of it. But it is oil-based, so if you're coloring it with something, it could move around a little bit, especially if it's a water or a alcohol ink, okay? But test it out. Sometimes what you have to do too, I mean, it's not just like what the media acts like right after stamping. Sometimes if you let it sit around for like overnight and you really let those inks dry pretty good, I find it's quite different than like, immediately to like 1 hour after stamping. It could be completely different in terms of compatibility types of whatever issues. And like I said too, like the different brands of things could be a little bit different too. Some could be a little bit more porous than others. Hello, Bill, Candy, Jeannie, and Bugs. How are you tonight? How are you feeling, Bill? Okay, let's stamp some saguaros on here, okay? Okay, so one of the things about the pre-printed papers, like this vintage paper, it already has kind of an established kind of lighting scheme in this particular one right here. It's really dark over here, so I see this as like a, my light source, setting sun or rising sun, whatever it might be. So I'm putting like a lot of my things over this way that I want visible in the background, as opposed to sloping it this way where we're looking off in like to the darkness or something like that. I mean, it could have been like if I have my subject matter right up here, and they're backlit, But on this one right here, but I wanted to use some of the new mountains and buttes. Okay, let's try some saguaros in here. It's always really fun for me to drive out to, the Phoenix, Arizona area when we've been doing the Mesa, Arizona stamp convention, the past few years. Just because we don't get, I don't know if there's saguaros anywhere in California, unless it's over there by the Arizona border. I can't remember. But in the high deserts that I typically go to, there aren't any. There's some, some flora that's in both areas. Yeah, the saguaros are one thing that we're missing out in California. At least in the deserts that I go to, Death Valley, Mojave National Preserve, Anza Borrego, Joshua Tree. Okay, let's see. Okay, now this, because it's a little bit bolder of an image, with a lot more ink, I am holding this down a little bit longer just in case here. It could be transferring instantly for all I know, but, it's no big deal for me to hold this down just a few seconds longer to let that ink, transfer and penetrate. As far as, like, the dye aspect of it. I don't know, that one looked like it came out a little bit darker. Maybe it's because I inked it up a second time or something like that, too. All right, let's go for 2 of these there, and let's mix it up a little bit more. And that doesn't look too bad either. Huh. Let me put another one of these duo ones. Sounds good, Bill. Hey, Bill, we're stamping some plants here for you. Here, Bill, did you have a bunch? You had a bunch of succulents, right? Or did you have some cacti too? Jeannie, how are you doing? How far away are you from stamping, Jeannie? Let me see. I can't remember what you said. Jeannie's a standing stamper. Which is kind of interesting because she has the most kind of like expression, what I mean? I call it stamp expressionism in her pieces. So it's not a, I don't know, whatever, a sedentary type of, whatever, stamping experience. Like it is with, I don't know, I'm guessing most of us. I don't know, does anyone else standing up here? I mean, I stand up to make my impressions if I'm making like larger, these types of things that have a ton of surface area. I stand up to get a little bit of leverage in there. All right, I just switched out to a little bit of a smaller saguaro here. And typically, when you do something higher up on the composition, it means that something's a little bit farther back. That's not too much higher than that one right there. I mean, it could be a younger one too, but I don't know, they usually look different. They're not just like smaller in scale, you know. It'd be like one, I don't know, whatever, trunk or whatever. They're not called trunks, but okay. Okay. I'm kind of making this visual passageway in here, you know, to throw some things back up in here. So I'm not going to close this off with additional tall flora. Cottage cheese, huh? What is that? Linda's eating rotisserie chicken, or you're saying to build to get a rotisserie chicken? Half dozen prickly cacti, but mostly suck. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's get a little bit of foreground in here. And like I said, I'm not going to be finishing off any of these. I'm just going to be like coming up with some compositions here. So if you haven't done like scenic stamping before and you're kind of intrigued, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of creating a foundation like that, okay? And then I'm planting in, these are kind of the focal points in terms of how this composition exists right now. The cacti are the focal points in here. But if I add like a person in here or something like that, it's really going to be the visual landing point, you know. But it's foundation, and then, you know, for the most part, I call, you know, these are the focal points right now, like I said, but they're not going to be in the end. So what we're doing is we're doing like filler in here, okay? If you're doing a waterfall scene or something like that, or if you have some kind of cabin that's a fairly large stamp, I call those like foundation stamps. And you would start off with something like that. You would stamp them first because you want the dominant subject matter of the scene to take precedent over everything else. So you go focal point, filler, and then other things like, you know, focal points. You know, if you add a bird in there, a deer, or something like that, they become, you know, very prominent in the scene as far as like grabbing the viewer's attention. But this is one of the biggest things. I mean, it's like if you haven't done scenic stamping before, you know, it's like, you know, when you get done with, you know, a composition, people have a lot of questions about, okay, wait a minute, you know, what did you stamp first? Because, you know, it's not like these isolated images, you know, all over in a scene or something stamped out and you got a word stamp in there and you're masking off, you know, off something, you know, it's very apparent with outline styles of designs where one stamp starts and the other one begins. Everything in scenic stamping, everything's just layered over one another. You know, it's not really a side-by-side application. I mean, you could do that, you know, in certain types of, you know, scenes or something, but for the most part, you know, if it's like an entire scene, everything kind of blends together because you're just overlapping things. You know, you're creating layers of that. This is the Ocotillo, by the way, here. The large one, but you know, I don't want to do this right here over everything like that, you know, so I'm just using the tops of it, you know, just to represent something kind of a lot closer to us, maybe, you know, as far as our vantage point goes. But this is like foreground in here, okay, so you got foundation, filler, foreground. I didn't try to come up with something that starts with F's. It just happened to be like everything starts with an F, you know, as far as the compositional kind of process when I was doing that. And it was like, I think there's a video out there. It's called like the 4 or 5 F's of, scenic stamping or something like that. But I didn't think about it until I was done with that video. Okay, so anyways, we have that built in like that. And then, I don't want to crowd it too much, but here's another smaller ocotillo. So you have these somewhere in the background, and you're creating a little bit of continuity between foreground and midground or background, wherever you use these types of things, in terms of, a common shape or texture in a piece. It's like what, that's what designers do, interior designers. You contrast different textures against one another. You have solids and stripes and things like that, but you also kind of create some continuity by having something similar somewhere else. It might not be in the same scale, but you might have stripes somewhere, or they might be the same color scheme or something like that. Okay, so let's see. Let's just go with some of these around. I'm just kind of masking off, some of these. You could use the whole thing in here sometimes, or in some places. But again, the hybrid ink, as far as this is, it works really good. I found. I don't know why I used it once, but I was like, oh, that works like really good. But I wasn't really thinking about it as a, something to be used on this surface. It just kind of, came about by, I wouldn't say accident, but just by chance, I think. All right. So anyways, see those types of things like that. You get that little thing up there and this thing right here. So, if someone looks at your piece, they're not thinking, oh, here's one like that, and that looks exactly like that in the background. It's kind of hitting people on more of a subconscious level, in terms of visual harmony, like that. Okay, let's see. Let's go with some mountains or something in the background. This would be kind of cool, right back in there, like that. See, like right in here in this like targeted lighting area like that, or let me take a look at some of these like that. The I forgot the name of that range out in the Phoenix area. Oh, the superstitions. There's supposed to be like some lost lost treasure or something like that out there. There's videos on that on YouTube. There's also people hiking out there. Some of those areas, God, it doesn't seem like it would be that long to get just to the base of that mountain, but it's like when you're out in the hiking around, some things look a lot closer than they actually are. It's like walking down the Vegas Strip. It's like, okay, let's go to that hotel right over there, because it doesn't look that far, but then it's like you've been walking for like 45 minutes. Where it looked like it was 3/4 of a mile. Okay. Superstitions here. Okay, so I'm not going to have like a bunch of stuff in between this mountain and down here. I want to leave it more kind of open. And I learned that from doing the mystic imagery. I want to do some mystic stuff too. I don't know if I'm going to get around to it tonight, but kind of just having things, my mountain ranges or figures kind of fade off on the bottom like that, like it's in, mist or, I don't know, dust in maybe this case or something like that. Just atmospheric, sediment. It just gives it a little bit more atmosphere than having everything just stamped out kind of uniformly, dark, if you transition some things. especially in the background. Okay, so this one naturally transitions to, I mean, it's lighter down here, but if you also kind of wipe it off, you get kind of it adds a little bit more depth to it. Okay, let's see. This little narrow block is working really good. When I look at this right here, and I didn't think it would be tall enough for this image, but it is. I don't know what this is. It's like 1.25 inches or something like that. Okay, so right here. On this one, I have a little bit of a stronger base on it, as opposed to being open. I tried to make these images a little bit different from one another. So this one's more solid with a more definitive edge, like down here. So I'm going to wipe off a little bit more and dab off more right here. Now this is a thicker ink, so one of the things that I do a lot of times is when I'm dabbing off, sometimes I don't dab off enough. I usually it's not like, oh my god, I took off too much. It's a lot of times with me, it's like I don't take off enough. Maybe it's more with the thicker inks, I'm not sure. Okay, this one I'm going to have it overlap over here too, so that's going to be overlapping right and around in here. So let's take off quite a bit more, like that, okay? And that way, I mean, that's kind of be hard to kind of mask that off, you know, it has that little thing, so I just take off more ink like that, so it just stamps out lighter. And I'm stamping this one up a little bit higher to represent something a little bit farther in the distance again. And I could put something else out here, but I think this area out here is already dark enough to where I don't really need anything, so. But let's just see what it looks like here, okay? But do you see that, where it's kind of fading out like that? And that's where I've wiped off that ink. So I think I wiped off a good amount. Now see this right here? I wiped off some of that. I'm sure if I look closely, it's in here. I thought it was stamping, I don't know. I thought I was going to stamp this a little bit more out this way, but I think that's fine. And I think I want something like rack in here, though, even if I might want something over here. So you just got to kind of look at your things and see how they're developing, you know, sometime. Let me go with this one again here. Let's go back to the superstitions. That's the name of the mountain range, okay. Okay, let's do this, though. Let's go like this. Okay. Let's give it a pretty good impression like that, and then wipe off again, like this. And then we'll come back over here. Okay, all right. I didn't get too much, but yeah, it fills in that space a little bit. Let me do that same thing over here too. I don't know if I should wipe this off because this is already darker too, so I'm going to just, or I don't know if I should stamp it off. Let's do this right here. Yeah, okay, actually that looks pretty good. So that one was just kind of a wipe off right in there. So I think we have a pretty decent range right in here in terms of depth, okay? And I want to stamp this little writer right in here. Yeah, I want a writer. I want a person. I was thinking about, well, or do I use an animal? Let's use the writer. Foundation, filler, foreground. The background things are like filler too. And then focal point, okay? Now you don't always need a focal point. You know, like if you put a person or an animal in a scene like this, maybe not. One of the things about the desert series now, when I'm doing these little critters down here, I don't find that they don't, unless we're spotlighting them or something like that, they don't really stand out too much, which is kind of good because that's kind of like it is out, you know, in the deserts at least, you know, things kind of blend in, you know, really well, where you can't even see them unless they move a lot of time. So it just seems strange that that same type of whatever aspect is like happening and like when we stamp it out too. Okay. Let's get a little bit more texture in here too. All right, let's see. Sorry, I haven't been reading here. Bill stands for the big stamps. I stand and stamp. Bonnie, you stand and stamp too, huh? Hello, Sharita. Yeah, the snow stamp. So the snow stamp right there. I mean, if I stamp it in blue for like snow terrain, it's snow. But if it's just a texture. So if I do it in browns or black, it's just any type of probably sandy or dirt, type of foundation. So oftentimes it's like context. It's what colors we're stamping something in or how we're using it. But if it's a general texture, they're the most universal types of stamps, that we can possibly use. I think that textural stamps, like I'm using this like little rock stamp here too now. The more general something is, I think it's like it's the pure, or it's the epitome, I guess. It's the epitome of the purpose of a rubber stamp, A rubber stamp is about, its sole purpose in life is replication of form, right? Be it lettering or anything like that. So with textural things, it's like you can use them so many different times in a scene, And we don't do that too often in stamping. A lot of times it's like an isolated images that you use once or twice. You use them in combination in one piece, but in scenic stamping, you can really repeat, those images over and over again. Okay, so this is, on something like this, one of the things that I really enjoy doing on these pre-printed stamp sketches on these types of papers is just going in and just adding in a little bit of shading and like shadow work. And one of the things I really like doing on, with forms like this is creating like these little bit of elongated shadows, like in the, I don't know what, it could be, well, I guess it's, I don't know, any type of floor or trees or something like that, but I really like adding in those directional shadows in here. So maybe I'll have the lighting coming from in here and the shadows will kind of be going like this way. And you can see it becomes a little bit more angled out here. So that's the way I'll finish off this one. But, I won't be doing too much on this to finish it off when I do. But I really love having these bunch of these stamp sketches because it's really, you can go into them and really finish them off really quickly with whatever type of application you're doing. Okay, so that's my first one. Let's do something. Let's keep working with the hybrid ink, and we'll do a couple things on the wood grain paper. Let me see if I have any. Yeah, I don't have any longer ones of these. I really like using these wood grain papers, but like a half page or something like that. I have some scraps too that are, bits that I've cut off other pieces, and I'll do that sometime. I like doing. I haven't done it in like a while, and I haven't done it a lot, but I really like doing like scrap piece stamping. So like making things out of like little pieces is really fun. But I'll grab some imagery to do that with, in a future vid. Okay, so let me see here. One of the things that was really cool, I always say it's really cool when you see some things that you really want to see things that people do with new stamps. And so one of the things that someone did recently is they did, I don't know, it could be one of you. I can't remember who did this. Okay, sorry. But they used the natural bridge that I've been using like down here in the foreground, to look off into whatever scape, but they used it like right back up in here. And they had like people kind of walking towards it. So it's like this little archway, you know what I mean? Which, you'd see out there in nature too. But anytime there's like a little archway like this, it's like everyone's compelled to walk underneath it naturally. That's why there's such big features. Well, Arches National Park or something like that out in Utah, but also, yeah, a lot of, I don't know, a lot of deserts. But if there's something like at the beach too, like a sea cave or something like that. I don't know, maybe not everyone wants to go in a sea cave, but if it's like an arch way, during low tide or something like that, everyone's walking underneath it. Okay, let me see. I'm looking for my cover on the here. I'll just bypass that. I'll just throw this on the other side. Here, I'll put a couple of these other pieces, scrap pieces on here. This tack and peel is really sticky on this side. I'm using the foam version of this set. Okay, let's go with the hybrid ink again. Okay, let's see. Do this. I thought of Lawrence of Arabia as soon as Kevin started stamping. Has everyone seen Lawrence of Arabia? I didn't see that until I don't know when, but I think it was oh gosh, I don't know, sometime in the 90s, I imagine. So what would that been? It was like some anniversary of the movie, and they were re-releasing it out in theaters so people could see it on a big screen. But that was a pretty fun way to see it. I see this as really like a ocean here too. Maybe I'll do it both ways here. Let's see. Let me do this while I'm at it here. Let me do it this way. I've been mentioning that this would be cool to use with the Seaside Cove. And let me see some. I found a photo stamping piece that I had that had the Seaside Cove on here. Let me see if this would fit on here. I mean, I'd probably mask this off preferably, but let me see first. See, this line's already in here, so if I knew I was going to use this, but I think this is going to be strong enough to where I can just put it out there like that. Let me try it here. Okay, so this one was using the hybrid ink on the pre-printed paper. This is photo paper. It's just a photo print of some clouds, okay? And you can see that cloud going right through in that area, okay? This is using just straight dye-based inks. These photo papers, glossy photo paper, home for your inkjet printer, anything like that, they're tailor-made for those inks, which are water-based, okay? So you want to use a water-based ink on there. So the dye-based ink is the one that I use. I would imagine the Brilliance is pretty good too, but the Brilliance is going to be a little bit more surface-oriented and not penetrate and stain that emulsion coating on here. So again, if you want to color this, if you're coloring it with like alcohol inks or something like that, it might make the Brilliance ink smear because that pigment, that's sitting just on the surface might move around a little bit. It might not, again, if you let it kind of sit, for a while. I don't know about heat setting. I don't like heat setting if I don't have to. Photo paper's this emulsion right here, because if you keep the heat on there too long, it really makes those things bow, and I don't know, it's got this laminate top or something on there, or it can like separate, or maybe I'm thinking of the foils too. Foils too, though. I don't like that. All right, I'm just putting this one up on the horizon. I think I would go a little bit lower had I stamped this out first and masked it a little bit, and then stamped the Seaside Cove after it. But this little archway out there kind of reminds me of this. If this was like beach area out here, it remind me of Cabo San Lucas. I think it's called Lover's Beach, you know, that you have to take this little boat out to. But it has that little archway, I think. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to put a foreground on this one. I also want to do this thing where this thing's just on rock and you have these other rocks in here, so it looks like this natural arch. It wouldn't flow perfectly, but, you know, who cares? But see, if this was like built up here, it would look like one of those arches out in like Utah or something like this. But I'm just going to put this right here. So it kind of relates to that texture back in the distance like that. And then we'll put some things in between here and there. Okay, so we're going back to the hybrid ink. I just stamped these both out like right now, just, you know, while I had this mounted on here. Adjustable disc from Costco. Oh. Are you talking about one of those that, you know, it has that little electronic lift on there, Jeannie, where you can height it, you know, put it at any height that you want? That's cool. Sam Hawkins, I sometimes stand, I like to sit to start out. Got it. Yeah. Five hours. That's a big workout, Jeannie. 5 hours of stand like that. We're talking about taking breaks too, right, Jeannie? Does everyone, if you've stamped for, you know, a really long time and you're using your hands, remember to kind of like, I kind of stretch my fingers out like this a lot of times too, or you do your wrist like this as you're doing it. Because if you're doing like repetitive types of applications like that, periodic, you know, if you're doing it all the time, your hands, you know, your body is probably used to it, your shoulders and things like that. But it's a good idea to kind of just stretch things out a little bit, you know, take a little break and, you know, shoulders, everything like that, your neck especially too. Because if you're kind of have your head at a certain angle or something like that for too long. I don't run into any of that, but I am stretching out my hands quite often when I'm not stamping. If I'm watching TV or something like that, I always going to do this type of thing, you know, just to get my joints kind of nice and limber and everything like that. All right, let me see here. Let's get some textures down here. I've been enjoying my sand texture lately with all the you know, new sets. Okay, I don't want this too harsh either. Okay, I want it pretty light. All right. And let's see, I'm just going to wipe some of that off here. Go like that. I mean, this area right up here represents something quite a bit closer, so I just kind of faded it off right up there. And I'm going to plant things on here too, so it's a really good texture too, to blend in with the wood grain paper, you know, because it's like texture as well, so. Okay. And see, I'm filling this out to the left and the right of it, that first impression. So we blot, like that. Now, I don't always blot it. Okay, I'm just doing it on here because I'm going to put a bunch of other things on top of it. But a lot of times I'll just use it with the same, you know, 100% black or something like that. So that just gave me a little bit of a head start too for some extra textural things that we can do to this. Okay. Let's see. Let's try some other cacti on here. Let's go for the organ pipe cacti. There's an organ pipe. It's got like organ pipe. I don't know if it was National Park or something like that when I was looking up all these, doing a little research when designing these stamps. It's like, oh, there's like it's either that or a state park. Whatever is celebrating the organ pipe one. Just like there was like a Joshua Tree National Park, I guess, for for Joshua trees. But just remember, Joshua trees aren't only in Joshua Tree National Park; they're all over the place. They're all a little different though when you go see them in other areas. It's like a different variety or something like that, or they just grow differently in different different areas. Okay, let's see. Yeah, standing up gives you a different vantage point, huh? I gotta think that there's probably a lot of I don't know. We're generally working on kind of on a smaller format, okay, than painters, things like that, okay. But if you're ever at like an art school, I mean, like a figure drawing class where you're looking at something, you're painting, or drawing it, you're typically sitting down. But like in painting classes, you're using easels and you typically standing up. But the teachers, I don't know, I didn't get it at first. I don't know if I got it actually, by my senior year either. But they were always talking about, they want expression and gesture in your pieces. Okay, so if you're standing up, you're going to be more mobile. You're going to be using more of your body. You're standing. You're moving. You're incorporating more of your body movement, natural body movement into your marks. So there's a little bit of a different spirit to that, than just sitting down and, let's say, where most of the activity is being done by basically like one arm, it's and your hand. And there's just bigger I mean, I don't know. You take a look at Jeannie's stuff. If you're on, if you haven't been on Facebook, or you join in the group and check it out, or contact Jeannie and have her send you out her portfolio of pieces. So you can inspect them close up. Or in Rubber Stamp Madness, what issue was that, Jeannie? Was that the 2 issues ago where you had that feature, or was it 3? Okay, here's the smaller one. Okay, smaller, a little bit farther back up. Okay. I don't want to go too close up here with this one right here because it would be too big. So I want to have these like people walking back up in there. Maybe I should stamp those out first before I get anywhere. So let me see. I was thinking about this old man and dog. Maybe the smaller version. Let me see if I have that smaller version there anywhere. Oh, I do. Thankfully. I thought, oh my god, if I'm going to do this video tonight, or this stream, I thought I'm going to be, like, looking for, like, stamps, the whole time. This is kind of cool because, see this shape right here, too? It's like kind of almost the same shape right there. So, you get these figures kind of walking off in the distance like that. It kind of, matches in a way. I'm not sure what size I should make this one right here. If I have it a little bit higher up, it by association, it makes the cacti a little bit smaller, but if I have the figure a little bit lower, then that particular cactus is going to look larger. Okay, so right there. Oh, let's see. It's stamper size. I was just talking about jazzercise to my son. I was talking about the 80s and health clubs and stuff like that. Gyms. I was saying this one place near me was mostly it was like racquetball, and I said, and the thing at the time was called jazzercise. So Jeannie's doing stamper size. That's what you should say, Jeannie. That makes for a really good, story, stamping story. Is that, with your foot and your surgery you're doing, say, when you stamp, it's like it's like jazzercise and stamping at the same time, except you stepped on a marker and you twisted your ankle or something like that. Okay, so I'm putting these rocks back up in here, and I wiped off the bottom portion of it because they're going to be going down into this organ pipe cactus right here a little bit. So I wanted it to be really light right there. I didn't want there to be these things like right on the top of that form like that. Let me see. Let me get a little tiny bit of this one too. Here. I just wanted some other, rock textures a little bit like in here going back into there. Otherwise, it's just like completely flat from here to there. Which you could do, though, but it would be wrong, though. No. I'm joking. All right, let me see. Let me go back to that ocotillo. That little tiny ocotillo really works as a really good background filler here. I'm finding, I'm still figuring out, the ways that I'm going to be using these stamps too. The more I use it, or I in this case, seeing what someone else did with the natural bridge right there. I've been enjoying seeing what everyone's doing, by the way, with your pieces, if you posted it or share, I'm trying to think if anyone sent me an email with anything. I think it's mostly I'm seeing it all on like Facebook. Okay. Oh, I think the natural bridge that I was referencing, for this drawing, it had a bunch of stuff growing on the top of it. There was like bushes and everything like that right up top there. So I'm going to put some little thing. I'm not going to put a saguaro up there or something like that, or a, you know, organ pipe, but, you know, a little shrubbery like that. Okay. And let's go this over here. So I added those two over here, but it was like unbalanced, so I'm putting another one of these like right over here, just to kind of balance things out visually a little bit more like that. So I didn't have that right there. It looked a little bit strange, so throw that there. All right. Collect these rocks here. My little tiny rocks. I'm leaving this open up here in case I want to do like a quote stamp or something like that up there. Word stamp quote. Okay, so we have that right there. So I've only used that down here, you know, as like a little bridge to look off into the distance. I haven't used it a lot, you know, with the new stamps. So tons of kind of compositional types of things to consider. This would kind of be interesting like that. You know, like that looking out in the distance. I would have it more of an elongated one where I'd have this over. I don't like things like looking out, like right out that way, because it's only like this amount of space. So I'd want it like out here. So I've done it like longer, like a half page or something like that. But it's kind of like interesting to use up there. Or didn't I do that last time? Yeah, and say I don't want to put that right there. You know, you want them to have them like out there, I think. I do have this one victory one with this person with the hands over their head. That would be kind of cool, right out here. And like they've run cross country, and this is like the farthest point out west or something. All right, so on this, I don't know. So I'm not going to do too much on here. This would be cool too if I had this higher up. Like I said, this was already stamped, so I'm not going to do too much this one, but like baby sea turtles or something like this down here would be cool. It'd be cool to do something where, not on this photo stamping piece or not on this piece right here, but if you had like a sunset coming right through here, you know what I mean? Have these like deep shadows coming out this way, like that. And you know, you have this light coming through here, or you can do the light beams coming through here in white or something like that, you know? You'd have the beams coming like up here like that and down this way. That'd be kind of interesting. All right, so let me see here. I was going to put some reeds right in here, but let's just put some, let's put a little bush or something like this in the foreground. This would be perfect for a little, like a kayaker or something like that in here, maybe. Those kayakers, you know, if there's like this natural bridge or like sea cave that goes in one area and comes out the other, those ocean kayakers, they're always going into those types of places. As would I if I, you know, if I was a kayaker, ocean kayaker. All right, let's just put, this is the oak branch. And again, I'm going back to the water-based dye ink here for, you know, my glossy photo print. The glossy part of it doesn't matter, you know, if it's matte, you know, satin or glossy, water-based ink on that type of paper. And this type of paper really dries really fast when you use dye-based inks on it, just because of the chemistry of that type of paper. It's designed to dry really fast, running through your printer and taking, I don't know, whatever, 4 colors on there typically. If you're printing out like a photograph of something, they want those to dry reasonably fast. So doing like 1 color, like in probably a little bit of a thinner ink than inkjet printer, so it sets up really fast. All right, let me see if I can find, let me see if I have a kayaker here. All right, let me see here. Oh, your cast removed Tuesday morning. Oh, oh, yeah, Jeannie. I almost forgot about that incident. Tell people about your hospital visit there. That was crazy. I use my cutting table to stamp on. I use to quilt. Oh, so I got used to standing then. Right, right. Yeah. I was reading Bonnie's note there. Broke my foot in '96 and was walking boot for 4 months. Wow. Oh, walking around in those walking. My son had to use that walking boot when he broke his ankle. When was it? It was last year, I think it was, or was it? Yeah, I think it was last year. I found some ocean paper preprint. I've seen those ocean ones. Those look pretty good. But the chemo pills cause this, so I get stiff neck. Yeah, yeah, Bill. Um, get that neck nice and limber massage. And I use it. I don't know. Would it be too sensitive to use like a heat pad or something like that on there? But remember, I'm always like going like this too with my neck, and it's often like when I do it, like every night or something like that. I hear this like little, not like a big pop or anything, but it's like click. All right, let me see. Where's that little kayaker? Here we go. Okay, so if you just joined in, I'm just doing a bunch of stamp sketches, but I'm using different surfaces today just so I can talk about some different ink compatibility types of issues here. Now I'm using the water-based ink on here. Again, like a StazOn would work just fine. The one that I find that doesn't work on glossy or photo paper is the oil-based pigment inks. Okay, I find that oil-based inks, it just never dried them any. So I might stamp it out like I stamp out like a VersaFine or something like that, and it looked fine like for a couple days. But then it was like I look at it like a week later, or I don't know, like 2 weeks. I don't know, it might have been longer than that. It's like the ink just kept kind of creeping out a little bit. It just never dried on that paper, and I think it's because there's like not enough absorption of the oil based aspect of it. The oils just never dried. Okay, let me see here. Oh, I have this other kayaker that would have been better. It's kayaker 3/4. This one's like the side view, but the 3/4 view, I can have it like have the kayaker like heading out more towards that opening, and I think that would have been cool. All right, so again, I'm going to leave this up here, possibly for a quote or something like that. But see, I put this right here. I think I'm going to add some shadows at the base of this with some alcohol inks. I really love using alcohol inks with my dye-based ink impressions on photo paper. Those are really fun to use because those the alcohol inks, you can add them on here And I find that they blend really easily on top of this paper, um, with your blender pen or whatever. All right, so another compositional base here, for other. Let me see something right here too. So, I mean, you can see, that cloud in here. Now, if people don't, if someone knows photo stamping, and they've done it or seen it or whatever, and you say it's like photo stamping, they'll say, okay, here's that cloud. They'll know what you did in here. But what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of adding in some little extra texture again down here just to differentiate this like open area from, the clouds up there. That's the sky a little bit when you add that little textural form, like right down in there. All right. And it kind of obscures, the direct representation of that background cloud in here. Stamping anything over it kind of obscures it a little bit. And you want it to look like it's kind of reflective in this case because it's water. But I don't want it so much so. Like if there's like a hard line of a contrast in here, it would be a little bit more apparent that, that cloud is running underneath here for those, that don't do, photo stamping. Maybe they don't get the concept of it. Yeah, anyway. By the way, this isn't a sales pitch or anything. These are all completely free, but I do have the Clouds album on my Flickr account. And then okay, Linda, I always forget about that folder. What's that folder called on the Facebook group? I think Linda added my photos into a separate album on the Facebook group. Thanks, Linda. But I think there's another album on there too, where the participants of the Facebook group have they've added like sky photos and things like that to be used on there. All free for download and printing. But on the cloud ones though. What I've done is, like, this was probably like a deeper blue or something like that where there's more contrast. Sometimes I've desaturated it a little bit, or I've cut down the contrast so that we can stamp more different types of imagery on there that's open and not have like hard white to, mid-tone blues or something like that in the background. But you can get the gist of, having the clouds in there. Or I don't know, it's a little bit more than just the gist of it, but anyways, those are all free for download. What you do is you click on, a thumbnail and it brings up the larger version. And then there's this little button. Usually download things are in the lower right-hand corners. In this case, it's a little arrow. And then you click on it, and then it says, well, what resolution do you want, to download that in? And you typically want to go with original, so the full file size. There's even a button for the entire album if you want to download the entire album just like in one fell swoop, you know what I mean? I don't know if you want all those clouds, but I have them in, there's ones in there that are in more grayscale, in case you want to add in a lot of different colors on it. Some are the more the bluish tones, things like that. But the gray ones, though, you can add in like your warm tones or something right on top of it, with your alcohol inks. And it won't really interfere with, because alcohol inks are transparent. So if you put a yellow over the top of like a blue, if it's a real strong blue, it'll look, like green. So I have some kind of in like grayscale, where I've completely desaturated. Okay, so anyways, let's see. Okay, so we have pre-printed papers, in this case, the vintage, the wood grain right here, that photo stamping one is pretty fun, isn't it? I need to order some more. I ordered like, this is a 4x6 glossy photo print, and I just, I used to get them at Costco in store. You know how you just upload and you go and pick them up? Well, I think the last time I just ordered them online and, it gets sent to my house. Like if you have a bunch of them to do, it's probably cheaper than using your inkjet, unless you have one of those types of inkjets where there's what do you call them, reservoir ones or something like that. Okay, so here's a piece. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to use this one or not because it is discontinued, I think. But it's the same type of paper as there. This is a holographic cardstock, okay? And it's the same maker as like this one right here. This one's a gold one, but the gold one comes in a pack of like, I don't know, there's like three different types, and not all of them are this kind of stookier type of thing like that. But this one is a blue pack that they don't have anymore. All right. Okay, I'm using this one though because there's other types of blue foils out there and holographic foils. Okay, so here's like just a flat, recollections one that you find at Michael's. Okay. But I really wanted to do a sky like this with some, cacti or something like that in the background. I'm not sure if it's going to show up on. You usually have to use something pretty bold on here, so I've been using like pine trees or something like that. I don't know if I've stamped something in white over this, but I don't think I'm going to do like a white cacti, you know what I mean? Saguaro or something like that on here. I don't think that would be the ideal usage of this, but okay, so with this, anything that I stamp on here, in terms of my imagery, I probably want to do it with the StazOn ink right here. But let's just get some kind of background going in here. Let's just do a starry night type of thing. And I'll do it in the Dr. Martens bleed proof white. It'll make it kind of textural, but let's just see if this is, I don't know if it's going to work. All right. But let's just try it out, I don't know if this is my last piece. you know. But here's the thing, if they don't make this anymore, I really don't want to use it to, use these things at all, or if not, too much. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And what I'm saying is, I'm not sure if it'll work or not because I want to splatter paint this, but this bleed proof white is kind of textural. So all these little beads of little splatter on here are raised, okay? And I'm going to stamp over it with, some dark imagery. And I want to make sure that all of that ink transfers over there. Sometimes if you're stamping over like something's underneath your thing, your surface, and you stamp on there, it leaves like a space in between in your impression. Well, this one's going to have like this fine mist of a gazillion dots in the background there that I'm stamping right over. And I also want to make sure that, if these represent stars, I don't want, if I stamp over it and StazOn, I want that, to have a nice opaque black impression over the top of it, or, maybe the black stains, the white that's on there. I don't want a bunch of like white little dots showing through my impressions. So hopefully that doesn't happen in here, but we'll see. Okay, so this is some Dr. Martens bleed proof white. It's a really opaque white watercolor paint. Okay, so I'm going kind of low with these stars right here. Because those, I don't know, I have some really tall like pine trees, but the cacti aren't quite as tall, so I want these stars to contrast against the the forms, in front of them. Okay, all right, and I'm splatter painting this a little bit more than I typically do too, because again, I want these things to stand out on there if they can. All right, so let's go with that. So I don't have too much variation in here. I had a little bit of variation, but I'll add in some other stars in here manually after this. Is that enough? Yeah. I guess it's enough. Now this card I might, if it, there won't be a whole lot to do on this one after. I might add like a quote stamp or a word stamp up here. But, okay, let's pull out the stays on here. And let's see. Let me go with the Joshua trees. These Joshua trees are the Joshua trees and maybe organ pipe. Or do we want to just go with the Joshua trees? We'll start off with them. Here, I'll use this right here. Oh, I'm saying I have the real topping for this somewhere. I don't know where it is. There it is. Okay, I'm taking a little bit more time to get these straight on here because sometimes I've been stamping these, I'm used to stamping out pine trees, bottom weighted objects. But now suddenly with all the desert flora, I'm stamping out top weighted imagery, flora. All right, let's see how this goes here. Hello, Renate. Here used to be a natural bridge in Aruba that looked just like your stamp. Oh, cool. I referenced some natural bridge somewhere. I don't know. It was in some... I'm trying to remember now. It's kind of a combination of a couple areas, and I completely tweaked it. So maybe that was it. Oh, it was gone. Okay. That's a bummer. What happened to it? Anacapa. Oh. Yeah. Let me see. Where is Anacapa? I know that. Is that off Ventura? Look at the Channel Islands. All right, let me see. Let's go up here. I'm going to go pretty prominent with this one. Okay, so stays on ink on foils. There probably is some kind of sweet spot in terms of impression time, okay? Because I think that I kept my impression time down too long one time on foil, on some kind of holographic. And you know how fast stays on ink dries. I think it dried, and I think I had a feeling that maybe I did it too long this time. I think I had a feeling that I was like pulling the foil off. I might have done right there. I think I kept it down too long. I think, yeah, I didn't leave a dark impression there. Okay, so the sweet spot was not that. I need a stamp positioner now. All right, that's a background tree, right? Let me do this again. Yeah, I couldn't remember. So there was a prime example of just what I was doing there. Yeah, you have to stamp down there, but hold it down. You don't want to lift it like immediately, but... Okay, let me see. Let me go with another one out here. So I'm just going to offset it and have this other background one in there. Like that. Did that stamp out? Yeah, it did. I couldn't even see it here because it's so reflective. This might be an instance where the Brilliance ink might be better. It's a little bit thicker. It might be a lesson on what... This scene might be a lesson on more on what not to do. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the water-based. I mean the splatter painting there in the background as well. Hey, this is too big for this. Let me go with a smaller block here. Let me see. Did I don't know if I, might, actually my StazOn might be a little bit dry. I can't remember if I re-inked this one before. I've re-inked, you know, a couple of these pads before I started this video. And I can't remember if I re-inked this one. That could be the issue as well. And I remember this is like really, really dark too, so it's hard to see. Yeah, this one's not working out. I'll try it on another one though. Okay, so here's that. See, it's like really light up here, all right? Oh, I just remembered. So if you do it in StazOn, Linda told us what to do with this, right? You just take your StazOn cleaner and you just wipe this off. So I don't have StazOn cleaner, but I have alcohol. And it's in StazOn, so I think you can just wipe it right off, okay? I forgot about that. Let me see here. I don't know, should we try to do that or should I just move on? I can use my brilliance on this one here. Let me try that on this one. All right, now this one's not scarce right here. This one they still have. Let me try the brilliance on it. Okay, the only thing about the brilliance ink on this one is that you're just gonna have to spray seal it when you're done. But the brilliance ink is a thicker ink, okay? Now this one's not the blue one. I think the blue one is gonna be cooler if that works out, you know. I'll do another video. I'll do one like a cleaning video or something like that. Okay, remember that was also that blue one, and this one is a holographic cardstock. It's not the holographic printable vinyl. Holographic printable vinyl, if you get something on there that you don't like, you toss it. That stuff, that printable stuff, it's like emulsion on there. So it's like printing on, you know, something like photo paper or something like that, you know, it's the equivalent of. All right, let's go with this splatter painting again here. Let's try to do this quickly. See, I'm doing this at an angle to give a little bit more of a, like a Milky Way type of thing. And also you can do some clouds in the background too, you know, with that rip paper towel technique. But I wasn't quite sure if I did that with the StazOn ink. If I stamp over those clouds, I think I would be removing the clouds for sure. But if I'm going brilliance over, you know, brilliance clouds, brilliance black over brilliance white, basically, that would have been fine. Okay, let me see. All right, so we have our starry background. These are more like light pillars in here than like a northern light type of thing. It could be like northern lights though. But someone told me about light pillars, so I'd look those up. And usually like some kind of man-made lights or something like that are shining up through like atmospheric like moisture or something like that. They're really cool because it can kind of transition off into different colors. What do you call that? Is it refraction or I forgot. Someone here probably knows. You know, where it breaks up that light into the, you know, different spectrum. All right, let's try this again here. All right, brilliance black. All right. All right, now here's the thing about stamping that really thick ink on top of this non-porous, really smooth type of paper like that. When you stamp it out, it's thick ink on there and it's slippery. And then this is, you can see it's like probably a really slippery surface like here. So when you're stamping it down, your ink that's on the stamp is kind of like squishing out. So you don't want to like stamp it too much, like super hard, okay? So you know, if you're standing stamping, you know, just use light, even pressure, but adequate pressure, okay? But it's also watch that you don't skew it. And when I say that, sometimes I still do, you know. You kind of get, if you don't do this for a while, you kind of get the feel of it a little bit. So what I tell people is, you know, if you're doing it, just practice it on a little scrap piece or practice it on another piece of foil. Just get a impression down there. And you just wipe it off with a paper towel because it doesn't, you know, this Brilliance ink isn't going to dry like instantly on there. In fact, even if it dries, you can probably wipe it off, you know, so it's going to be kind of malleable until you seal it with a. I've been using the Krylon like UV clears and stuff like that, but I've come to start really liking the the workable fixative. Maybe even more. I don't know. I thought the workable fixative, because it was matte, is going to like matte off these colors in the background more. But I don't know. I find that I don't know. It doesn't really do that. And it seems like it's maybe because it's so thin that it's not manipulating or it's not changing things as much as, you know, the thicker acrylic sprays. I like the thicker ones, like, you know, like super glossy if I'm doing like a glossy cardstock or something like that. But on these other types of surfaces, the pre-printed ones, you know, the foils and things like that, the uh, the workable fixative seems to work really well. Okay, now this one, I do have some of that black, white showing through, but it's not too bad. It picked up some of that. Okay, like that. You can see where it's lifted some of those white things off. Again, because it's a sealed surface that we're stamping on and splatter painting on. So there's nothing for this media to really grab onto, you know, which I thought the StazOn would have, but maybe the StazOn would have grabbed onto it, but I have like, there's so much raised material on that blue, and maybe it just didn't, you know, it wasn't making like absolute contact with it or something like that. I don't know. Let me see, this one's a little bit big here. I'm sacrificing some ink here. I need a smaller version of this here again. So the biggest thing with this one, again, is that skewing, you know, when you're stamping it out. So I think what I learned to do is I learned to stamp a little bit more definitively on these. You just have to kind of, you know, if you're going to position it, just go for it. Don't move it around like at all after you touch, you know, make contact with it. But again, you know, if you make contact with it and it's not right, just wipe the whole thing off and just start over. You know, it's really easy to do on this. You're not going to do these elaborate compositions on top of this type of paper anyways, just because it's too light. It's usually a few trees or something like that in the foreground. I really like doing this composition using this paper too. I like using it better with, although that looks pretty good. I really like using it with pine trees. You know, they're a little bit more solid, but I don't know. That looks pretty cool like that, I think. Huh. Let me see. Let's just keep it really minimal like that. And let's see. Let's put a little bit. Let me use my reeds on this one. Oh, not the StazOn, see? These types of papers like these holographic cardstocks like that. Okay, I can't remember how much this cost, but they're usually a little bit more expensive. So, you know, to get a little bit more bang for your dollar or something like that. You know, the silver cardstock is really inexpensive. So I don't know with the desert, but like other types of scenes, making that reflection card out of it. So it's like, you know, you're getting like twice the effect for or look for the, amount of money you spend like that. So see that right in there? What I like in there is that, it seems to be fairly deep in terms of, those stars. I mean, these images right here look like they're way in front of, that background. Okay, now I have some of these things showing through in here in a couple areas. So I'm just going to take a Sharpie pen and just color out a few of these stars that are too prominent within the body of my, Joshua trees here. Okay, there was just a couple of them. It was a couple where there was like a larger star like that. Okay. But you get that right there. I think what I'll do on a couple of these stars right in here in the background too, if you add that little bit of, here, let's just do that right now. Let me see. Let me add a couple. I'm going to do a couple of these by hand too. If you're really gutsy, you can do one of those things like have a star like that and then do a streak like that, or do a couple streaks like that, and it'd be like, the Pleiad, what is that? The Perseid meteor shower or something like that, going on in the background. Okay, so I've added a couple like larger stars like that. Let me add one up here. Okay, and then let's grab the white brilliance, okay? The spirit of this is going to change a little bit when I spray it though. But like I said, I'm finding that the workable fixative seems to be pretty good for that. I sprayed something recently. Oh, it was the piece from last week, the one with the leaves on there in that reflective silver area down below. And I thought, okay, I'm going to lose some of this reflective quality, but I don't know, it didn't change as much as I thought it would, or if almost at all. It was like, oh, maybe I'm using the glossy sprays more, thinking glossy over gloss would look, more integrated, but the spray fix, I don't know, I guess that's in the spirit, the spray fix. It's not supposed to manipulate or alter kind of the general spirit of the foundation, It's just supposed to lock things down so you can work on them a little bit more. Or like with pastels or something like that, it just won't, it won't, smear or something like that later on. Okay, so I'm just making a couple of these larger stars in here kind of glow a little bit more. Just so that there is a little bit of a softer element in here, because everything's like super sharp on this like super loud paper. So if you expand on your textural range a little bit, with something, and adding these little glowing little stars or something like that, it can really do the trick. And I think it kind of mellows things out just a touch. All right. So there is that one right there. Maybe use brilliance. Don't use StazOn on there. All right. But I don't know, the StazOn works really good with, those reflection cards and things like that. I don't know. Maybe it was on that holographic right there, or on this particular brand of it. I don't know. But like I said, it could have been just that I sprayed the background like that. So a little bit of a thicker impression like that. See, in some of these areas where it's really thick, the imagery didn't stamp out like perfectly solid in those areas. It kind of, when I lifted off, it came off like a vacuum in those areas. So anyway, so this, I don't know, overnight for me in terms of drying time. And you just give it a light spray down here. Okay, I don't need to spray up here as much. I spray more around my imagery like that. Okay, so I give it like a couple quick bursts or something like that, or passes from distance. And then just up here, just give it like a light spray, like a once over, like that. Okay. And it might be prone to be wiping off, but no one's going to get your card or something like that and just like start rubbing in there like, oh, can I remove this ink or something like that, you know? Like I said, unless someone gave it to like kids or something like that, you know, but I don't think they would even do that. Okay, so anyways, here's some different compositions right here on some different surfaces like this. This one's almost finished though. I think like a quote stamp up here would be really cool, like in white ink, before I spray seal it. If you splatter paint that type of stuff up there, and if stamping a word stamp against over the top of it, if that background is going to interfere, like I wouldn't want to stamp like a word stamp right here because that star's right there, but that right there will just wipe off really cleanly with no problem with like a paper towel or a piece of cotton ball. So you can still remove all this type of stuff in here, like I said, which is really nice about it. It makes for a really this as long as you're using kind of the compatible media with those types of surfaces, the non-porous types, they can be kind of weird to stamp on at first, but they can also be the most user-friendly in some ways because you can just rub the stuff right off or wipe it off, buff it out, and use it again if you don't get what you want on there. So even with the stays on, like I was saying, Linda here tested out her stays on cleaner and it just wiped right off of the foil, whatever one she was using. So anyway, okay, let me see. Hello, Phyllis P. Wrench. Good to see you. Okay, Kevin Clouds and Photoscape backgrounds. Right. I need to check out the Photoscape backgrounds. Who was it that added that ice skating one recently? Was it Verna? But she should upload if she has that ice one. Someone did like I don't know what the surface was of. It was like an ice surface or something like that. Just all in the background. But she stamped something up there, but put these ice skaters on top of it, which is perfect usage of photo stamping. A bad hurricane knocked that thing. Oh my gosh. So that natural bridge. I wonder how long that thing was up there. Yeah, what not to do. So we learned on what not to do on that particular one. I've used now, like I said, I use stays on like this one all the time, the gold and silver ones, and it stamps out beautifully. So yeah. Now I don't know. Here's the recollections foils. Okay, very easy to acquire. They're now on Amazon, but they're at Michaels. They're at Michaels.com. Pack of 25. Gosh, I was buying like a pack of 25 like under $4. Now everything's gone up, but even at like $5 for a pack of 25 now, or they have the typically, if they're still doing it, buy one pack of any of the recollections, okay? And you get the second pack at half off, So I was getting like the holographic, I don't know, I have it here, but the holographic one, this one's printable vinyl, but they have the holographic cardstock like this. And then they have the holographic, or not holographic, but the colored foils. It's like super cheap. It's 8.5 by 11, But okay, so let me try something on this. I was going to try the stays on this one. Let me do something else on this one while we're splatter painting here. I want to try something. I've never stamped any of the desert imagery in white over dark, okay? And it does snow out in the deserts. But let me try this splatter painting on here. I want to see what white on this would look like. Okay, I see here like that. This one right here is almost like lizard skin. I think that's a mistake on the manufacturing part of it, but I don't know. I still use it. I still really like this one. This one's out of the jewel toned foil pack, which is a multicolor pack. But this one's more of the aqua color. And for some reason, all the aqua colors in mine have always come out like textured like that. Or not come out like that, but that's the, I don't know, that's the way it is in the pack. Not my preference, but I don't know. I think it's fine. I just think about how cheap it is relative to some other foil packs out there. Or here, I don't know if I'm going to do. I wasn't just going to stamp desert imagery today. I wanted to do. Let me see here. Yeah, that's a little bit too big. Let me do something with this. I wanted to do more things that I can finish off later on. Let me try something right here. I'm going to do like a little snowbank on this one. Let's add some snow down here. Let's add like a little slope right in here. And then I want to put like a quote stamp up here or something. Oh, it doesn't work with the holographic paper? Only for, well, the holographic paper is, this is a foil though, Linda. This isn't the holographic printable vinyl. This is like a foil, just like the gold and the silver. Like this is a foil too. But maybe it works only with the certain foils then. I don't know. Like this foil right here, the ones that I use for a lot of mirrored types of applications, it's stiffer. And I think there's like a coating on here that's different. But I have a feeling that the coating on that one is the same on this one right here, because this feels like super coated as well. Oh, look at that. Those tree impressions down there. The first one didn't work out at all, but the other ones are, you know, fine. Okay, so this is the Brilliance White right here. And I'm just making a little bit of a slope. So you can see, or I don't know if you can see it, but okay, so there's a pretty big slathering of ink. I just re-inked this, okay? And I'm going down here. But if I go take this and I just wipe right into that, that will come right off. Now this paper, this Recollections one with that texturing on there is a little bit more porous than a lot of the other foils. It's just it's a very cheaply made foil, which is fine with me. Because I think it is a little bit more porous, so it takes my inks a little bit better sometimes. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but what was I getting at here? I forgot what my point was. Something about application in here. Oh, I don't know, maybe the absorbency or something like that. Okay, but okay, I'm going to add some clouds in here too. And I'm just going to do this really lightly, okay? So your paper towel kind of cloud background technique. It was really used, I saw this technique used a lot more in terms of the formations of background mountains in the past, okay? Now see, I kind of move my towel around a little bit like this too. So it's not so crisp of a cloud. It's a little bit more, I don't know, what would be the term, like amorphic or whatever. It's like moving. I guess it's because I'm like moving the paper towel too, but it seems a little bit softer to me too than the hard edge, like of a plastic type of, you know, cloud template. And I do like the looks of those cloud templates too. Super stylized and everything like that. But when I'm doing this with this on foils, I want it a little bit more varied like that, okay? Okay, so I do that like that, and then I just kind of hand add some of this a little bit above and a little bit below, like that. And kind of do it with a little bit of a drier version of paper towel like that. Sometimes it feels almost too dry, but that's kind of what you want right there, to get that little glowing edge like that, okay? And then see where it's like really harsh down here? That's where you have to utilize kind of a drier version of that. Okay, and I know you can even hand do like some cloud up here in the background. So if it's going from a little bit lighter to a little bit, you know, darker in the background, it's darker because you're just applying less white on there, and you get more of that ink, not ink, but paper showing through. Okay, so see that like that. You can spread it around. You can try different touches too if you want, you know, and find, you know, what works best. The biggest thing is that there's not very much ink on here, so see that right there. Like that, and you get those stars up there, which are pretty fun. If you want it a little bit more light in some area like that, if that's too light, then you just dab some of it off like that and just take off whatever you want, and then suddenly it's darker. Now all this is going to get a little bit darker too. As it dries like more see-through, you know, more transparent. It's not transparent, it's translucent, but it moves towards transparency when it dries for some reason. Okay, let me see. Where did my larger... When I saw this, I thought, I don't want to do my, like, a saguaro in white over the top, you know? I didn't think with this color right here. I might do it with, like, I don't know, one of the other foils, you know, negative impressions with the desert stuff. I think it's 1 year ago that I went out to Joshua Tree. It was about this time of year, or it might have been over spring break for my son. Like really late into the rainy season. But we had a big rainy season last year, but it was like Joshua Tree National Park sits at about 4,000 feet roughly. And we were down on the freeway or interstate heading out there. And here we are like 3,000 feet lower than Joshua Tree. And it's like raining down there already. And I think there was a little bit of snow coming down. So it's like, oh my God. So when I go up, you know, another 3,000 feet, you know, it's almost, you know, it's surely going to be snowing. But, you know, we're all the way out there already, you know, like 2 hours, you know, away from home. So it's like, you know, might as well just keep going. But it was really cool to see the park, you know, driving around in there where it's actively snowing. And I've never seen that. I've never seen it snowing in the deserts before. But I've seen snow out there before, but not in Joshua Tree. So it's like for driving in there, it's like everything's covered in snow, right? And then we went in there and we hiked around a little bit, not too, you know, too far from our cars, and for a few, you know, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours maybe. It stopped snowing, but then when we were driving out, you know, there wasn't any snow anywhere to be found. It's like all melted, like instantly, like everywhere. So it's like, oh, okay, that's why I've never seen it before. It's because it like you know, it just melts like instantly. Okay, so I'm gonna put, this is like gonna be like a little foreground, little snowy slope or something like that. So I just want to see if this is going to work here. So a little bit of an experimentation video here as well. I'm pretty sure I've done this before, but I don't remember though. Like, I don't know how opaque this is going to be. It might not be very opaque at all. Now on this one, I think I hold down and really allow that I think I skewed it just there a little bit. And allow that ink to kind of set up a little bit and to adhere before I lift this up. And I think that's going to give me the best impression. It's not going to be super white, you know. You can make an argument. Maybe it'd be better if I did that with like embossing or something like that. I'm not sure. I used 2 snow stamps on my desert scene I posted today. Okay, I can't wait to see that, Debbie. Yeah, the thumbs up. Thanks, Bonnie. Oh, you bought the leaf punch that came today. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so I did those little leaves last week, and then again on like Monday or something like that. But then there's these little tiny leaf punches. Froggy Fresh posted that leaf punch, and they're really dinky too, so you can stamp out whatever kind of leaves you want. I think those leaves would be really cool with those little leaf punches. To punch out like metallic ones, you know, the foil leaves, you know, for different types of occasions. I think that'd be really fun like that. All right, so there's our tree on there. It kind of broke up a little bit right there, but that's not too bad. What is this right here? Oh. Let me see something right here. Oh, I have that little rabbit image. A little animal down here would look good. Let me see. Let me fill in. So if you have your little... let me see. White pen and Q-tip right here. I'll fill in that little... See, sometimes it kind of, when you're stamping on these types of foils like that, it can kind of, I don't know, in printing, I think they used to call it fisheye or something like that, when you have it down there, and it can kind of pool in a little puddle or something like that. And then when you lift off, the ink didn't transfer, you know, because it's kind of pooled up and a little bit textured. Or, you know, or it comes off like a vacuum on there, okay? All right. Now, I should wait for some of this to dry a little bit, but one of the things I like doing on some of these branches, now this one's got a million branches like here, but on these little notches, or what not, I don't know, what do you call it, notches or something like that, I put, you know, some of this little snow, like where it would collect right in that little Y area or something like that. So if you do those in a few areas, it'll kind of make sense. But what you're doing is you're kind of creating a little bit more contrast in here from that white impression. And it's not a super white impression because it's very see-through. You can see where I'm touching down here and it's getting on my finger. It's coming right off. So it's one of those things that it kind of makes it, I'd want that to transfer, but it makes it very malleable where you can move this, you know, stuff around still if you need to. And again, I'm going to finish this off in a future vid here too. So let me get a little bit more contrast down here, maybe like this. And I'll put something else out here, maybe like another quote, stamp, or word or something like that. Or we could do like a little crystal up here. I think that'd be cool for like a star or something like that. On this one, I need to be careful about this one. Okay, so I have a bunch of my stamp sketches. I'm just going to have in a pile, but this one you don't want to, you know, pile anything on top of it. Otherwise, it's going to scratch into this and manipulate it. But let me see. I don't have. Let me see if I have any of my winter little craggy little bushy things. Here's a winter brush right here. I have a larger one too. That would be good, but let me get the foundation of this one kind of established a little bit more before I stop working on this one, because I don't want to add these little types of elements in later on. I'd rather have it kind of established on there for more of the final touchy type of things. Okay, so this is just this little textural thing like that. Okay. And let's add this down. A couple areas like that. I'm contemplating the use of like a fence right here, you know, with the fence thing. They're coming in this way. Maybe it's stamped in a little bit too low for that. I'm not sure. Here, let me see. Let's mask off a little bit here. All right, I'm leaving that space open there for like a little animal or something like that, like a little deer or like that rabbit. I'm thinking about that rabbit in there. Oh, hair like that. It would go right up in that cloud. That's kind of light. I would be just stamping this out in probably white. And I don't know if that'll... Like a white hare would be good. Or a white stag or something like that right in that spot. And like some crystals or something like that. Or I don't know, I haven't been using the glitter. I don't know if I'd use the glitter up here, actually. Or would we? Yeah, maybe the clear crystals or something like that. Like a little... maybe a little constellation or something like that up there would be kind of interesting. Huh. I don't know. Okay, so there's your foundation right there. So quite different than when you're going kind of positive, you're going dark on, I don't know, is this dark on light? I guess it is. It's dark on dark in some areas of the holographic like that, but you can get a really different look with your light on darker foils like that. So I like using my darker foils for that type of purpose. You know, going with the negative things, especially like pine trees and stuff like that. I like using my pine tree, spruce tree, and leafless pines in light tones over those darker things like that. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. Let's see. I could see using a nebula. Oh, the nebula. That'd be pretty cool. I don't... Yeah, that would be a good idea. I've always wanted to get that kind of that coloring into the those nebula, you know, nebula types of imagery. So maybe you're right. Maybe stamping the nebula on like a holographic will inherently have that, you know, those different types of colors in there, like that. And then we can darken in the perimeter like that a little bit. So this is the nebula right here. I don't do too much blending on that holographic printable vinyl, but let me see something here. I'm trying to find a piece of just that regular holographic cardstock, and let me see, I haven't used it in a while. This is like a super hot holographic. I wonder what this would look like on there. So this type of paper like this, I really like using it, but I like to, it's so kind of hot that I have to kind of tame it, okay? Okay, so Chris brought something. I'm going to try this experiment right here because I happen to have the nebula right here. I happen to have my sky figure set right on my desk here still from, I don't know, a recent video. Let me just try this. Okay, so this is a printable, and I haven't done the printable holographic vinyl here yet anyways, but this is different than this or this type. I know the color is different on this one right here, but these two right here are holographic cardstocks. Okay, these two right here. Okay, this one is a holographic printable. I know a lot of you know already knows, but some people might not. But this is a printable vinyl sticker paper, and this is made to go through your inkjet printer. Okay, just like, you know, photo paper or something like that, you know, to print out photographs on. Okay, so on this one, okay, this one's a really hot, you know, very active type of surface like that. So I didn't used to think this is going to be something that I'd want to use with scenic stamping, but I've turned out I've loved it, you know. You know, here's a like a desert sky right here or something, you know. Um, but just I don't know. You can have that type of background with anything. Okay, but anyways, it's kind of loud, so I'd like to mute some of this. You know, for scenic stamp. So let me try something right here with this right here. Okay, so I'm gonna stamp this nebula in here, and all right. Like I don't even know what color I would stamp that in there, but we'd have that holographic coloring in there. So this is nighttime sky too, but I think I'm gonna throw some clouds around it. We'll just do it in black. We'll have it kind of harsh. Like I said, I don't know if if this is the color to do it in or not. Let me try to do this really fast here. Okay, so this is the Brilliance White Pigment ink. It's a water-based ink, so it's going to work on and dry on this really fast. But unlike foil cardstocks or holographic foil cardstock, see this, I can just wipe right off. If I run my finger right through there, through this whole thing, all of that would just wipe right off, okay? Except for the acrylic pen mark. But this right here, this is like dry to the touch. It's stuck there, okay? So big difference in terms of your ink, you know, or your media surface compatibilities. Okay, it's just, yeah, both of these are compatible. This one you just have to spray seal, okay, and it's going to take a lot longer to dry on that. You know, or like this one right here. Here's the black on that, you know, cardstock, okay. But on this one, just know that, you know, when you're going into it, it's just going to be a very different experience in terms of your media application, in terms of drying time and how it adheres to it, etc. Okay. I love working on this stuff, though. It is so much fun because you can, where you lay down your Brilliance inks over this, you can use colored pencils too. Now, for me, that's the biggest benefit in terms of how I like to finish these things off. But the fact that it's dry too, I mean, it's really amazing. Okay, let me see. So here's my question. See, the thing about this one is if I add all this white down here, it's going to be really light in there. So maybe... Okay, but I want it kind of dark though, too. But I want those clouds to show up, so... I think here, I'll do it in... I'll try it in grayscale. I'll see if I can do this. I've never done this before. I could probably do this after I stamp out the clouds, too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get some white, and I'll just lay down some black just around this perimeter and into these clouds a little bit, just inherently. I don't know if that'll work better or what for this purpose here, because it's a nighttime sky, you know what I mean? It's a nebula, you know, it needs to be fairly dark, but I need to be running in some contrast somewhere in here. So let's test it out. And if it doesn't work out, it's Chris's fault because she made me do this. She was talking about the blue one though. Okay. Yeah, but the nebula is a really good idea for the holographics though. All right, so let's give this a try here. Looks pretty good, I guess. I'm not really achieving gray, but kind of this light application of black over the top of some of that white. Now, I'm not leaving this bare like this. I'm going to use the cloud cumulus on here, okay? All right, I'm not going to get to it today, too, but now that I see this kind of this hole, like this, you know, this portal right here, I forget I want to do like a cave composition or something like that tonight too. But let's see how this one goes here. I have a lot of different stamp sketches to play around with. I'll try finishing them off over this next week. I might jump on again sometime over this weekend or something. I mean, if I do it in a live stream, I'll try to figure out what I'm going to do on each one of these things and have all those stamps ready to go. Okay, so I'm doing this little vignette around on the perimeter like this. And I'll try to make it fairly... Now I can come back in here and I can add more of this later, okay? After I stamp out my clouds in here. I just want to get like a preliminary type of thing going. I was just wondering if I do this first and I stamp the cloud over it more, would the clouds be a little bit more, whatever, the form's a little bit more articulate than blending in a bunch of tones over the impression? I don't know. If it was on, a piece of glossy cardstock or something like that, you can keep layering and layering your clouds. But on something like this, where you're stamping it out, and that's like what you get is what you get, probably a little bit less. You have to be, I don't know, a little bit more definitive, I think. Which is good because these cards, makes for a really fast card too. Okay, so here's the cloud cumulus. I keep saying this, but like, people are new to this. So the clouds are illuminated in a certain way. So if this is like right side up right here, it looks like the lighting is coming from above. But on this case right here, the lighting is going to be coming from in here. The nebula is going to be right in here. So I'm going to be stamping this out with the clouds always pointing in towards, in this case, the nebula, because that's going to be kind of my light source in the scene. Okay, so if you have just a unmounted rubber version of it or the foam version on cling, I would put that arrow on the back of your stamp, so you know which direction, to point the cloud in. If you have a sun over here or a moon over here, you're pointing that cloud towards that light source like that, okay? So it's over the top of it, it would be like that. One of my customers showed me how she did that. I was like, oh, that's a good idea, Because sometimes, I'm using this cloud, I can tell what direction is up just by looking at that rubber, But, if you haven't used a lot, so you can see that like that. See, I can tell that the billows are going that way. But again, if you haven't used a lot or something like that, or you're not really familiar with it, an arrow is, would be really handy. Okay, now, on the top of this right here, I'm blotting away a lot of this ink right here because it's going to be transitioning into this stamp right here. And I want that merger of the two stamps, okay? They're both rectangles, okay? And I'm stamping it in a really dark color to begin with, okay? If I was stamping this in a light blue and this thing's light blue, you don't have to really wipe anything off because it's such a light color to begin with. But if you're going with the darkest color that you can possibly go with, and it's a super thick ink too, like Brilliance inks and pigment inks are, you might want to wipe that off so you don't get a bunch of these like edges, kind of like hard edges potentially showing up, okay? All right, so I'll show you what I mean right here. Okay, so see that right there? It just kind of fades off. There's no like hard edge like that, okay? Because we've wiped off all that ink, or a lot of it, before we've stamped it out. So just don't have the ink on there and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, but when you ink it up, dab off a pretty good amount of it, okay? Don't just be real delicate and going like this on there, get in there pretty good. Especially, like I said, if it's a really dark ink. If it's a lighter medium blue and you're stamping in like light medium blue sky or something like that, you know, you don't need to take off as much, you know, because it's a lighter color just to begin with. I'm overlapping that previous impression. Now this one, the next impression after I re-ink will be like that, okay, and like that. So you just keep kind of, you know, rotating it around. And see right over here, I'm kind of wiping off that edge too. I don't need to wipe off this edge because it's stamping it, that edge off the paper like that, okay? This is like that. So I'm coming in like this. I didn't wipe off enough right there. But don't worry about that because the nebula is going in, you know, in here anyway. I should probably stamp out the nebula first and then do the clouds around it. I don't know, with that really loud paper back there, I don't even know if the nebula is going to show up or not. We'll see. The nebula with star is kind of a light, airy design. It has a little bit of solid areas in here, but here, I'll show you. You'll be able to see it more when I ink it up here. Now, if you have a brilliance blue or something like that, that might be kind of interesting, or a, you know, ultramarine. I don't know what colors brilliance inks there are out there, but I know they have a bunch of different blue tones. That would be, I think that would be pretty cool in there as well. Okay, now I'm wiping off the edge just like I did on the cloud, but I'm doing it on all four sides because, you know, it's going to be like right in here like that. Okay, let me see. Let me get those corners a little bit more like that. Now see, this one right here is going to be going right into these clouds right down here. A little bit more like that. So let me, oh, that just happens to be an area that's really light and airy anyway, so maybe I don't need to worry about it. Okay, let's see. You can't buy the blue recollections in Canada. I can, okay, for us down here, there's no blue recollections. There's only the multicolor packs. It's either the primary or the jewel tone one. As far as I know, I haven't seen just straight packs of blue recollections in my, I don't think. But even if they did, I don't know if I'd want 25 sheets of just blue in there. There might be other brands that might have that, but I think they would come in like a 10-pack or something like that. Try heat embossing on that wild color paper. Oh, right. Now those ones you can heat, I'm sure you can heat emboss on those, Bill. On those ones, I would probably emboss something like a, I don't know what would stand out, gold or something like that. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's like, oh, hey, that looks pretty cool. I know you were talking about the blue one, though, but anyway. Okay, so you can see that guy, you know, if you wipe off the edges, there's no, like, hard rectangle in here anywhere, okay? So just wipe off the edges of your pieces. Okay, let's see if we can kind of I don't know, bring a like a stronger kind of lighting scheme to this piece now that we can see all the imagery in here. Okay, so I'm going to just try to make this a little bit more, I don't know, contrasted against the background in here. Okay, so I mean, we did use the nebulous star. You can do this type of thing with really any of the sky imagery, the Milky Way, the Aurora Borealis, maybe more the curtains than the rays ones, but I don't know, you could do it. Actually, the rays ones might be kind of interesting. Or, you know, if you want to have like a really funky moon up there or something like that, you can pop that in the, you know, up there. And it doesn't have to be the circular type of thing. You can have, you know, I could have had clouds down here and this up here and just toned in, you know, or put more celestial types of bodies up there, you know, in that space. Or you can, I don't know, if this is going up this way, you can splatter paint it with, you know, some of that white paint or something like that. All right, let me see here. Here's the thing that I was kind of thinking about trying. I want to kind of fill in this area, like right around where that open area meets the clouds here that are, you know, probably in the foreground, right? Like that. So I'm trying to keep this really, you know, with a light hand. I don't want to do a big, thick mark of something in here. Okay, so did any of you try some glitters? I think this would be perfect up here for some of those glitter types of things up here too now. All right, that color in there looks kind of a little bit boring, but look at this though. When you change it at those different angles though, like that, I think that's pretty cool. Like that. But I think, you know, some of those clear crystals or something like that, or the, you know, these types of, I don't know, chunky glitters or something like, not that one right there, maybe. This one would probably match really well right here. This one's bluish violet. That's what it says right here. But some of those, like a couple of those right around in here, and then you can put, I don't know, you can put your desert cacti or something like here, some trees, some pine trees look really cool in here. I don't know which way's up and down on this one right here. Maybe that's like, maybe like this right here. That looks kind of cool too, but if I put trees in here, I'd want to keep this whole thing, so I'd only put trees like right here and here, and I'd leave that other spot open like that. But hey, you know, when you start using like, you know, some of these different holographics like that, they're just so kind of interesting in terms of an existing surface. It's I wouldn't say it's hard to go back to just white cardstock, you know, and starting off with that. But these, you know, different types of, I didn't, did I do a white card? I didn't do a white cardstock today. I did just all you know, backgrounds, pre-printed backgrounds like this already. But it sure does get you to, you know, a spot really fast in terms of, you know, finishing off of a piece, starting off with these types of papers like this, or just existing backgrounds like a photograph, you know, that can be really fun. But just again, you just want to use the, you know, compatible media with it, which obviously I don't, you know, have completely wired down for the fact that like this one, you know, did not work out. But again, I'm just going to I'm going to see if I can wipe this off later on with some alcohol ink. I'll show you what I did like in a future video like that. But you know, these different types of papers like that. Let's put this vertical over here right now. But I don't know, it can really get you kind of cranking away at these pieces, just working out your compositions. So that's one of the biggest things that I hear. Look at this. See, I just touched that right there, and that still gave that little blotch right there. So I'm going to, I'll move that around a little bit. I'm still thinking about a fence. I think a fence would be really cool on this one, but maybe I'll do that. Maybe after I use the spray fixative on this one, I think I'm going to stamp a fence right here. I think that'd be perfect on that one. But yeah, one of the biggest things that I'm running into a lot over this last, I would say about maybe a year or so, the last 12 months, is, people see that like a final piece just kind of posted on Facebook or something like that. And it says, okay, this is it's, because I don't do it like a complete, paragraph description of everything that was, I did on something step by step. But let's say, for example, okay, they print out like a piece on photo paper or something like that, and they go into their favorite inks, for getting something down. They use a VersaFine Clairon here, which is an oil-based ink, and it just doesn't dry. So they think, oh my God, so these stamps, or whatever, or the technique that was being kind of demonstrated, it's not as easy as it looked. Okay, well, they're probably not referring to watching the video, but they're just referring to kind of the finished piece. But they just didn't use the right ink, and I get people doing that type of thing on the foils all the time. Not so much with the pre-printed papers, because these ones can take just about any type of ink, but they just have varying degrees of kind of opacity, where you stamp like a dark black ink on this, and that's not like super dark right there, like that one right over there. But just, some inks are going to be much darker than others, So just do some experiments and figure that out. And then, okay, so what was that? What was that other file? Is Linda still on? What was that file, Linda 2, that's in the Facebook group? Someone did a little write-up on the ink. Was it ink surface compatibility? There's, the different types of inks and what surfaces they can be used on. If you're ever confused about that, or if you just want a little bit of a printed reminder, or I don't know if it was a PDF that someone did. But that's that's all that stuff is good to know. And some people are just starting up too. Like, I don't know, Sharita's still on. She's experimenting around with a lot of stuff. So like all the different types of inks, when you're first starting out too, can be kind of confusing. And then a lot of these different types of papers, these two things look really similar to each other. But one's a printable vinyl sticker paper, and one's just a holographic cardstock. So two completely different surfaces. Glossy photo paper looks really similar just to the naked eye as glossy cardstock, but one of them takes, you can use some inks and it works the same on both, but some inks might not, depending on what type of thing that you're going for with those different types of papers like that. So, just, I don't know, keep those types of things in mind. I'm really saying this to people that don't need to know this, though, too, because you're watching these videos like that. It's the people that just kind of see these finished pieces like these, that don't, hear any of the, or don't see the, whatever the list of things that were used on there and why they were used, too, in some cases. Okay, I dipped a Q-tip in 70% alcohol and rubbed it on the gold foil. Recollections, it didn't seem to affect the surface. Okay, my paper has craft color backside. Yeah, that's the Recollections one, yeah. Okay, so that worked, Bill, then, in terms of you're referring to the removal of like some stays on or something like that. I may have been stamping along with this video. I may be stamping, all the different papers, Linda. It's fun, so I dipped into the white a little bit on this one, but I was just going to use those like 4 different types of inks on there. I should use on this video. I really should have. I don't know, I should stamp something in this stays on top of this foil right here because it does work really well. I don't know why it didn't transfer. Maybe I was holding down for too long on this one. I don't know, or maybe that foil's different, but that stays on. You know, that's the thing that I've been using mostly on, those reflection cards lately. Like these rocks down here are stays on the silver foil. And look how dark and like completely flat they are. Now these ones I stamped over the top of some of that white brilliance ink down there, but I got to do this one again. I liked everything how this came out, but I also liked the look of this before I put any of that color up there. I really like that eerie kind of misty morning type of thing down here. I was telling Linda that on that other one that I did too, where I put some color up in the trees and leaves up in the trees. I think I'm just going to do them bare, but where all the leaves are on the ground like that. And these are the three-dimensional modeler's leaves, if anyone didn't see that from last week. But that stays on down there, and then the other reflection card that I did recently was this. These are just three impressions down here. Look how beautiful those impressions are with the stays on ink on silver foil like that. So this was the reflection card like that right there. There's glossy cardstock in the background like that. But I don't know. Stamping on foil is really fun. But apparently, I don't know how to do that on that blue one, I guess, or something. So, yeah. I don't know everything. I probably know, like, I don't know, like 5% of all the different things out there. I haven't experimented around a lot, okay? I've been experimenting around a ton, though, over this last year and a half. But, I've been stamping for, I don't know, it's like 30 years or something like that. And a lot of it was with one combination. It was glossy cardstock and dye-based inks on there. So I'm new to a lot of all these types of things like this. Okay, I'll do a test on the different foils. Okay, good, good. Yeah, we want to see those things like that, Linda. Maybe I'll do that at some point in time too. I should just, I got a big box of all these little scraps now too. Boy, that's a big assignment though. But if we stamp on, maybe the thing that I need to do is I need to just on the different foils, maybe, because I pretty much know it's working on like a lot of these other things like really well for me, at least with the brand of inks that I have. It might be different with other brands, but yeah, the foils especially. And the foils are different too, with like real solid imagery too. And the more spindly ones, when you have like a big solid area and you're stamping it onto something that's very non-porous, it kind of moves and it spreads around on the bottom of it. And like I said, it can create that little pocket of air too, because it's a really thick ink on a very non-porous surface that it's not absorbing it. And then you lift it up and it's like, oh my God, there's this big area, you know, it depends on, like I said, depends on what image you're using, but where it didn't stamp out because there was that pocket of air underneath there. Because again, that ink isn't transferring into the surface at all, like like dye-based inks on cardstock or something like that, or any kind of porous type of surface. So yeah. Oh, Bill, you're not. It's not Recollections, huh? And it still has that craft paper on the background. That's. I don't know of any other holographic that has that crafty, type of paper in the background. See, this one's like this craft paper in the back, and all these other ones are just like, like a white, paper of some sort. It's like a heavy paper. Yeah, here's this other one right here, like that. So, I'm curious to know what brand that is, Bill. Sometimes it's partly cloudy at night and mutes the deep colors of the sky. That's true, huh? There's more reflective light out there. Okay. Yeah, just try to knock off one at a time, Bill, I guess, huh? If there is something that you really want to test out. How did I have the time to work and still do other stuff? Sometimes people, when they have like more free time, it seems like they have less, I don't know, whatever productivity time in terms of doing things. It seems like my mom, God, she is so busy all the time, doing all kinds of different things, where I don't know, she worked, and was doing a lot of stuff then too. And sometimes people say I don't know, they manage their time differently or something like that. Okay, you made up the file. Clear up the confusion. Oh, that's the name of the file. Clear up the confusion. Hey, Linda, can you throw? If you have that file, Linda, maybe you ought to post that to your Flickr account too. You can upload like just a file. I think Flickr takes PDFs too. I'm not sure if it's just JPEG or if you can upload a PDF on there as well. But some people might not be on Facebook. But anyone can just jump in and go on Flickr and view any types of things. And Linda's Flickr account is under her name, so you can look that up. Hello, military mom. Oh yeah, glossy photo paper. Oh, glossy photo paper. Right. Did you mention that to me, Sharita? Yeah, the glossy photo paper is one of those papers really fantastic with dye-based inks, but don't try to blend anything on there. It's like impossible unless you're doing like stipple brushes on there, where it's a really light, delicate application of ink on there. They're like those stipple brushes are like stenciling brushes, really light, and you just kind of dab them into your ink pad, and then you color with those brushes like that. That had a really good look, and those ones worked really well. I'm trying to think of who used to do that. But there wasn't too much of a difference between glossy photo paper and glossy cardstock because both applications of ink on those were just so light and delicate. It didn't really matter. But if you're like slathering, going for big, huge kind of applications of ink, for some super bright, tones and saturations and intensity, the photo papers really, really would be difficult to work with. But I like to get those different types of textural types of things on photo paper with alcohol inks. And I really love it because if you stamp out your imagery in dye-based inks like this, going over it with the alcohol inks pretty much don't make, it doesn't smear any of the water-based dye ink impressions. It's really fantastic for that. Now, if I just stamped that out and I started coloring that in like, 10 seconds after I stamped it, it might kind of smear around a little bit. But, this one's probably ready to go, and I can probably use any kind of alcohol ink application on that right away, or not right away, but now. And I don't think that's going to smear at all. So that's the other side of and it dries really quickly. That's the other side of the photo paper and then emulsion coating on the photo paper is that everything dries really fast. You don't have to wait as long for it to set up to color in. If you have specific areas to color in on them. But yeah, blending. Yeah, that's just not the blending. It's just not really happening very well. Well, that's the way. That's a way. That's a good way to do it, though, Sharita. I like that you just jump into it and you're trying these things because you're adding it to your repertoire of compatibility. So, and something too, um, things like that. Sometimes if there's things that just kind of are, there's a lot of things that I've tried that I just didn't think would work over the years. And it's like, oh, that seemed to work pretty good, or things like vellums and things like that. There are things that I just didn't know couldn't be done until I did it. And I don't know, I probably tweaked it in some other way. And it, I might have crowbarred in some sort of application of things, but it worked fine. But then when I posted it, I know that because the only way I know that is because I posted some things like in the different groups, like Stamp Junkies or something like that. And a lot of the comments were, "Oh wait, I didn't know that you could stamp on whatever it was." A lot of times it was foils or something like that. But as long as you use the right inks, the Brilliance inks or the Stazons and that, and there might be other ones too. And I think there was something with vellums, too. A lot of people didn't think that you can do certain things on vellum. I forget what it was, but there was like a lot of comments, and I still get some of those comments if I stamp some kind of weird surface or something like that. I think it was something where people couldn't think they didn't think you could color on something. I forget what it was. So there was some sort of service, but if it was the right type of pens, it was fine, Or maybe they were using, maybe it was the photo paper like this again, and maybe they were trying to color it with, you know, Tombows or La Plume water-based ones that are just grabbing it right away, but you couldn't really blend them, after you've applied them in there, where you can with the alcohol inks in there because I don't know, it's not soaking into that emulsion coating because the emulsion coating's designed for the water-based stuff. I don't know, So, anyways, I don't tweet nor do I Flickr, only Facebook and YouTube. Well, what do you mean you don't Flickr, Bill? All you have to do is just go over to the page. You don't, anyone can view anything on there. Now, some stuff like Facebook, you got to sign in. Flickr's not, Flickr, like Flickr's just like an open thing to anyone. Now, I don't know. You might have to be a member to download that. I'm not quite sure, because I'm always, I'm probably automatically signed in anytime I go over to that one. But yeah, anyone can download on it. Where did Chris go? Chris, I don't see you posting on Flickr as much anymore. I don't get that thing, but Chris used to post all kinds of her, like I liked her sketches and like in-field studies, drawings and stuff like that, the watercolors and washes and all that stuff. But yeah, check out Chris's stuff if you're anyone. I think that Chris, was that under your name too? I don't know if she's still on here, but yeah, check out Chris's album on Flickr. And then, Linda's on there too. I don't know if you're posting everything that you do, Linda, on there, like you do on Facebook. But check out Linda's stuff on there. If you don't do Facebook, or I don't know what else is there, like Instagram. Like I think anyone can see anything on Instagram too. Hello, Caroline. Oh yeah, yeah. I can't. Okay, so if anyone's on, I keep forgetting this. I'm simultaneously streaming on Facebook and YouTube, but I can't see. I only have one comments and reactions window on the software that I use. I'm not sure. I want to see if I can get both of those, like two windows going for Facebook comments too. Because sometimes people say, "Hey, oh, hi, Kevin, great," but I only see those ones when I like sign into Facebook or go to the Facebook page later on. Are you still post? Okay, you still posting sketches? Okay. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's Chris's Facebook name. That's right. I mean, not Facebook, but the Flickr name. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to think. Do I get notifications of anyone that I've what do they call it on Flickr? Follow. I think it's follow or something like that. Okay. Yeah, the YouTube. I don't know. I don't know if YouTube too is YouTube. Is it the same resolution? I don't know. Which stamp is the rock arch one with the kayaker? That one is the it's the natural bridge off of the Nature's Set. Which one is this one? This one's 33, so it's Desert 3. It's this one right here. So I've been using it like more in the foreground types of things, but someone on, we're talking about Facebook here. Someone on Facebook did it, as a more distant thing in the background, like, and they had the couple and dog like walking like that. But I thought it looked like they were walking towards, and they were going to go underneath that. But I thought, oh, that's like a really cool idea. So I just used it right here too, so the kayaker will be. I should have used the 3/4 view of it, like they're kayaking towards that, like that. But yeah, okay. So I'm gonna finish. None of these are finished right now, so I'll finish these off in future videos. These ones will just be some colored pencil. This one's going to be alcohol ink. Alcohol ink. On this one, I don't know what I would do. I think I'm gonna stamp some like foreground trees. I could do it like that line on your back and looking up at the star type of thing, or I might just go with like a tree here and like pine trees or something like that right up here. Something like that on this one. I think if I did a word stamp on this one, I would stamp it, of course, on a. What'd be cool is if I had like a word stamp on this one, but I stamped it in silver, and then you mount it, and then place it right in here, and then you mount with the same colors around on this side like that. And oh yeah, and some either the crystals or that glitter. A couple. I wouldn't go too much in here, but some of the extra bling right in this area, right in here, for that piece. So a little bit of different finishes. And on this one, I think I'm going to add that fence in here too. On this one right here, I might add in like an eagle or something like that in there. I always like those majestic birds or something like that in the night sky for a kind of a whimsical little element or something like that. In there. Huh. I don't know. I'll figure something out. On this one right here, I'm not going to do too much with, though. God, on this one right here, I don't know. I might take a couple of these glitter pieces like this. Like this one would be pretty cool. But I'll add it in there, just like, a couple here and there, like a couple little extra twinkly stars in here. On this one right here, you can kind of go thematic like that. Although there's all kinds of colors in here, though. Like there's even see that blue and violet in there? It's mostly gold because this is like gold colored holographic paper like that. But hey, you can do something where you're kind of contrasting instead of, trying to match, and maybe something like that would be cool in here, like green, I don't know, green or blue in here maybe. And there's that little blue, but I think that would look kind of cool in here. For a couple little specks of it, I would just apply it individually like in there with that glitter. So something like that in there. And in here too, I think I'll add in some crystal stars in here. Definitely some kind of word stamp, I think. And some kind of figure in here. But I don't know, I'll figure it out. Oh, I forgot too. One time I think I did crystals in this ash tree. I really like that look. And I do have some, I have some amethyst crystals. So amethyst and clear crystals in here to add some sparkle to this maybe. I think that would be kind of cool in here. And then just some sort of animal or something like that down here. So we'll bring this one. This one's like, this one really needs to be brought to life with some extra little sparkle or bling, I think. So anyway, dig out some different papers before I go to bed and try stamping on this weekend. Sounds good, Bill? Oh, yeah. So check out the... I never knew how to pronounce that, Chris. Yeah, and then it was under one word too, Chris, right? Yeah, the word stamp would be in white or in silver on that one. I think for me, I usually just go with white up here. It would, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I would do in here. I don't have room. It would be perfect for a nice quote, but I didn't leave myself space on here, because it's a quarter page. It'd be better if it was like a half page or something like that. And then I can do a whole quote in there. I think that would be cool. Oh, I just remembered too, or I just thought of it. Um, Let me see if I have a piece of. I don't really do vertical reflection cards like this, but that might look kind of cool as a reflection card like that. So it'd open like this. Like I said, I don't usually do that, but it looks like it's reflecting far enough. So I don't like this edge right here, this like super long edge right here. So I usually like to make my reflection cards, shorter like this, okay, and horizontal. But maybe if I add in like some imagery right here in this shard right here where it's not reflecting, and over here, that might be kind of interesting. I might just do that on a future piece like that. But I think this base right here with these lighter tones like this with this tree in white would make, and the snowbank right here, would really reflect really down in the lower section pretty cool in a reflection card. So, so whenever I start thinking, you start chain thinking, just brainstorming like this. But people got those like those hole punch things, those leaf punch things. So what if you do like something like this and do your tree up there in white like that, but then you have like little white leaves down here in this lower area like that, like they're floating around in here. I mean, that's not what they would look like, but I think that would make a cool kind of graphic statement like that, especially if you have those leaves where you can stamp out any color you want, or maybe you can stamp out your leaves with those leaf punches out of, like if you have a white, like a star dream, like an iridescent type of paper, that might be kind of interesting. Or, I don't know if you do it in silver foil, that might be too much. I don't know, but could be kind of cool. All right, I'm thinking about too many things to do, and I already have like way too many things to think about. But I was thinking about if you snap that tree in silver, you know, and then you have a reflection card down below, and then you stamp out, you punch out your leaves in silver, because that silver, and especially if you did it in like a matte silver or something like that paper, and then you put those leaves down in here on top of the mirrored silver, wouldn't that look, potentially kind of, like super elegant? I don't know, you'd do where you'd stamp that silver onto. It could be just silver on white paper too. I don't know. Yeah, but it sounds like there's some different possibilities. I didn't know about that leaf punch until last week, when Froggy Fresh was talking about that leaf punch, and I didn't know if it would like be a lurophile. Oh, okay, got it. Very oak. Oh, is that what that means? Oh, cool, Chris. All right, but yeah, silver on silver, silver imagery up top with the silver thing on the bottom. I gotta try that, say, sometime. Future vid or some, I don't know, someone. If anyone has all those different types of materials, and you can do that, do it. Show us what that looks like, and then I don't have to do it. But yeah, I don't think I've done a reflection card with silver, like down below with this imagery up top stamped in silver inks, which I think that sounds like really cool. And then especially if you had those like hole punches there. So yeah, or leaf punches, whatever they call it. All right. Anyway, too many other things to try, but that's never a bad thing, right? Thanks for joining in. See what interesting surfaces you have in your paper stash. Stashes. And try things out. Yeah. All right, hope to see you all in some future lives, potentially, checking out some of these, the finishing on these pieces here. And can't wait to see what you all do too. So, yeah. Looking forward to checking it out. And this one right here, we'll see what happens with this one too. I'll take that alcohol ink or something like that and see if I can just rub that off. And if I can take that off, then I'll be able to do that little experiment with the nebula on here with this paper right here. If this doesn't come off real cleanly either, and if you do something like this over the top of it, it'd probably obscure, the stuff that's already been laid down on there anyway, so we can still use this. All right, good night, everyone. Have a great weekend, unless we see you on future lives over the weekend.